All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So, this may be a wacky question, but I think I'm going to title this podcast, Are You Sick of Your Core Values? If you've ever listened to my previous podcast or even know anything about my program, Mastering Self-Confidence, a lot of times I talk about core values. And, a lot of my program is revolved around finding the right woman or women of your dreams, you know, kind of dating them, maybe ending up in a relationship with them or all these type of things. And one of the things I think that is most important is obviously having very similar core values. Doesn't mean exact. That goes for building relationships with friends or maybe even the workplace that you work at. Trying to make sure that your core values line up. If you're way off base with your core values, you can't. If you're a Christian hypothetically and you want to, and you start dating strippers, for instance, or somebody in the porn industry, a lot of times that ain't going to work out necessarily. Just saying, or vice versa. So I know that's extreme, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. And it could be many different things. But here's the thing, though, I think a lot of people don't talk about regarding core values. And I think this happens a lot of times with people that end up becoming famous, truthfully, or end up at a different position. I call it a spotlight position, where, all of a sudden you're getting a lot of attention from others that you never gotten before. And you may have grown up hypothetically a Christian again, or you had all these core values. You wanted to maybe, get in a relationship, get engaged, have a family, wonderful, and, go on throughout your life. But I do think, sometimes we get bored. I think we get bored with ourselves. I think we get sick of ourselves. I think a lot of times we don't want to admit it. We get sick of our religious values to a certain point. I mean, we like them. We may want to obey them as much as we can, but we kind of find ourselves where living a life where it's just not exciting anymore. And that doesn't mean I'm telling you to go out and cheat or that you got to go out and do drugs or do alcohol. I don't know what it relates to. But I do think people sometimes have to take an honest approach when it comes to their core values too, and saying, you know what, these are my core values, but you know what, they're not necessarily everything who I am, even though I've kind of thought they were. Or the way I've been programmed, this is the way it should be. I also think a lot of times when we have certain core values, we kind of expect others to not have the exact same core values, but to kind of understand our core values. But then on the flip side, we don't understand theirs, if that makes sense. But here's the deal. And I just want to kind of jump into this real quick with the core value thing. Again, is I tell a lot of people to be as open-minded as possible a lot of times and honest with themselves. Because I think the one thing most people do is lie to themselves or bullshit themselves. If there is something that you want to do throughout your life, right? And if you're married or you have certain rules or you're in a relationship and all these things and it goes against the values of whatever relationship you're in, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that unless you tell your partner whatever the hell that is. But this is more or less, say you're more independent than anything. You could be single, you could be divorced, you could be separated, whatever the hell you are. But if you are somebody who's kind of had a lot of core values, right, and it hasn't worked out for you. Because I think a lot of times, no matter what, we think our core values or our beliefs are always the right beliefs, which they may be. But a lot of times, they don't work out the way we expect it, our life in general, I'm just saying. You may want to maybe take a different approach on your core values. Again, I'm not saying that in a negative way. That doesn't mean you have to go out again, break the law, do stupid shit, experiment again with things that may be illegal. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it could be as simple as, you may be only dating a certain type of person. It could be a race, nationality. It could be something political, religious, whatever your core values are. Maybe trying something new. Maybe being a little open-minded when it comes to certain things. Again, it could be as simple, your core values again are really, I think, something that is always going to be changing because society is always changing. And I get you may be like, no, I'm a diehard this, and I'm going to be this for the rest of my life, and I understand. But I do find a lot of people that are absolutely miserable with who they are, what they're doing. It could even be the workplace, the relationships they get into. It could be many different things. And a lot of those things may be because of your core values. Your core values may not be right for you. You don't want to hear that. I get it. Okay. But I'm just telling you, this was something I think that I think about a lot of times. I was fortunate because I was able to kind of do a lot as a young man that was kind of adult driven. So being in bars, nightclubs, and my mother being very religious, I had the opportunity to see both sides kind of as an extreme side. You know, most kids don't see that. So when my buddies graduated high school and they were going to college to go to like frat parties and all that, I'm like, this means nothing to me. I've basically been in the party scene, or I've seen it from a distance, or my father's nightclub, you know, my entire life. It's no big deal. I remember even going for, you know, I was in and out of my father's bar till I was 14 years old, and then guys were afraid to go get beer or alcohol for parties or whatever. And I was the skinniest and smallest guy. I would literally walk into liquor stores or local bars and just grab beers and pay for them and walk out. Like, that's the confidence I had. And they would shit in their pants. But anyways, I didn't mean to get into that. But my point being, again, is, you know, being able to see things and see how things kind of lined up for people throughout my life. I've been very fortunate with that, because I don't think a lot of people realize certain things till later in life, or after they've made a mistake, or and we all, believe me, make mistakes. But I just really want to do a podcast on this. Is really, you know, you may really want to kind of dive deep and figure out, like, do your core values really work for you? Because I think for a lot of people, they don't. I'm not telling you have to change them, or you have to add new ones, or whatever the hell you got to do, but really pay attention to that, because I think in this day and age, a lot of things have changed incredibly, and, you know, it may be time for you to change, or at least some things, to benefit you, actually. So I'm going to wrap it up there. You get a chance. If you want to check out my program, it's masteringselfconfidence.com. You can find me out on richcelenza.com. My book is Wingman. And if you got any questions or anything, hit me up. You agree or disagree, but I'm telling you, I've done these interviews with people too, especially when it comes to relationships, and they're always pitching to me with the core values, and I'm like, I'm 100% down with that. I get that 100%. But I also think sometimes you may be shocked. You learn from other people's core values, maybe good or bad at certain times, but you learn to kind of understand theirs, and maybe sometimes theirs may work for you. And you may be like, I don't understand that. Well, you'll figure it out, because a lot of times I think we get so dead set on our core values and what we believe to always be right, or right for us. And a lot of times things do not work out for us, but we're also afraid to change or evolve. And again, it's on us to do that. Nobody else can change your core values with the exception of yourself. So if you keep having problems, again, I don't care if it's work, relationships, friendships, whatever the case may be, something's not lining up there correctly. Now, if you don't mind having problems, that's on you. But sometimes I talk about it all the time. I think we're right or we're wrong, actually more than we're right a lot of times. We don't want to admit it, but maybe with our core values, all of them are not always right either. So take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.